Aaron McFarling always brings a lot to the table, and energy is one of those things, and lively sports debate. The columnist for the Roanoke Times joins me on the Sports Buffet podcast. We talked Penn State football, the sad, according to some, but maybe not disgusting, despicable, according to others, tale. We talk Major League Baseball. The trading deadline had just passed. We talk Olympics, and we talk more. It's Aaron McFarling on the Sports Buffet podcast.
Always a treat when I can catch up with one of the best sports columnists in the business, Aaron McFarling. He writes for the Roanoke Times. Just got a ton of knowledge and everything, and we're going to dip into that in a lot of these areas as well. And let's start with some Olympics as it's going on right now. And I'll tell you, if there's not a thing that can get you going in the early morning like archery, I don't know what is. What is your take on the Summer Games, Aaron? Are you a fan?
Not too much, really. I'm still sort of bitter over them getting rid of baseball and softball. I like those sports. They're my favorites. Actually, baseball is my favorite, and softball is up there. So, the IOC kind of missed me with that. But, I watch some of it. I'll watch some of the basketball, I'm sure, although I don't really enjoy watching the U.S. destroy teams by 50 points. I know some people do, but that's not really my thing. I like competitive games. I don't know, it's women guys, so it's really, I think it's a great event. It's geared toward people other than me, but I'll keep up with it just enough that I can make comments on it when necessary.
Well, that's always a good thing. And you talk about the United States basketball team. I know a lot of people kind of like to debate the hot topic, Dream Team in 92 or this team. I don't think there's a comparison, honestly, in terms of who would win at their primes, but I'll take your opinion first.
Well, I think it depends. Are you saying both teams would be in their primes, or we're taking the 92 team with the older players at that time?
Well, we're taking the 92 team in 92, and we're taking this team now. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, I think you got to go with this team. Personally, I think the athletes have gotten better. Obviously, they're younger. We've seen in all sports, especially baseball, with the erosion of the steroid era. Guys playing in their early to mid 30s are losing a step, losing more than a step. It's a young man's game throughout the sports world now, and I think the fact that you have a bunch of 20-somethings on this year's team with loads of talent would defeat the veteran moxie of the 92 squad. But what's your take?
I go with the 92 squad. Honestly, and you bring up good points, and I'm not going to disagree with any of them, but I think the 92 team hated to lose more than they enjoyed to win, and I don't know that I see that with everybody on this squad.
Well, I think with Coach K now, I think they have a better mindset.
Right.
I think, understands how to play some defense and understands that just beating a team isn't enough. I think they feel like they got to exert their will and run away with it, and so far they've done that. And I would love to see that fictional matchup. Maybe one of the video games will let us do it at some point and see what happens. But I guess we'll never know.
But to me, there's only one dream team. I don't think we need to call the 96 team with Steve Smith and Derek Coleman and Mark Price and Dan Marley a dream team 2.
Agreed. Yeah, there was one dream team. There was nothing like that. It was exciting for everyone. It was an opportunity to basically pay everybody back for sending clothes when we weren't, and there was some satisfaction in seeing our best doing work. And I think 20 years later, I'm not sure there's that same sensation. In fact, I'm sure there isn't. And part of it is just there's nobody to really hate on. Who's the team that you look at and say, U.S. has to beat them? Is it Spain? What do you have against Spain?
Right.
I know they're pretty good at basketball, but that's not enough for Americans to hate the nation or their team. So I think that's something that's really missing this year too.
Yeah, and the countries we are quote unquote at war with, I don't think Iraq has a low post game that is going to be scary to us, or Afghanistan doesn't have as much on the wings nowadays, or stuff like that. I almost view that even though I think people still get riled up about politics, I think it's somewhat gotten out of the Olympics in terms of, I don't think the younger crowd really cares about it as much in terms of, who's against who. I just think it's more of American pride type of thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. And yeah, that's good. That's good for the world, I guess.
Right.
It's not good for the Olympics. You and I mean, I don't think we grew up, having to do air raid drills in school and hiding under desks and things like that. And thank God for that. But the people who grew up with that scenario, who grew up under that climate of the Cold War, stuff like the Lake Placid upset, Miracle on Ice. I mean, that stuff is stuff they'll never forget. And we're just not going to get moments like that in today's Olympics. And I'm okay with that. I'll enjoy my football, basketball, baseball, and watch some of the Olympics for fun and not get too wrapped up in it.
Yeah, let's hit on some Major League Baseball. The trading deadline just passed a few days ago. Any moves that you were surprised at, or any moves that you were surprised that weren't made?
Well, yeah, I'm a little surprised Cliff Lee didn't get moved. I mean, I think that's a scenario where if they could have got rid of him, if somebody was willing to pick up that contract and give him something back in return, I think the Phillies would have done that.
I think there's still a chance, though.
Yeah, there is. I mean, who's going to claim him off waivers if they put him on waivers?
Right.
I mean, if you're a bad team, are you really going to want to pick up that contract
right.
just to block somebody from getting? I don't think that's going to happen. So, yeah, there's still that possibility out there. And, but I don't know. I wasn't really surprised by anything. I think the big news was the Philadelphia fire sale. But I mean, who couldn't see that coming? I mean, the team's going nowhere this year. What good does it do to keep Hunter Pence and Shane Victorino around when you're not going anywhere? So get younger, do something to improve your future, and just write this season off. I think that's a smart move. I think people that hang on to these guys for sentimental reasons. I mean, Victorino is beloved in Philadelphia, but if you hang on to them because of that, you're going to get behind, and so I think they did the right thing there. And I mean, that, to me, I'm an Orioles guy. I grew up in Maryland, and for them not to do anything, I think shows something about whether they feel like they're really contenders this year. They're 5 games over 500 right now, and they could have swung a deal for Joe Blanton or something like that, and weren't willing to give up the pieces to do it. So, kind of gives you an idea that maybe the Yankees will be on cruise control the rest of the way in that division.
Well, being a Yankees fan, I don't know if I would say cruise control just because that team worries me in terms of getting injured, and I don't think the pitching is consistent enough to where I can say, oh, Ivan Nova's going tonight. I feel confident, especially after the other night. But, he was
8-2 at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah, but the ERA's always been high.
Right, that's true. And when's Pettit coming back? I mean, you got that going for you. I mean, Pettit is obviously a veteran of the ward, so
right.
Whenever he returns, I would feel good anytime he took them out. Of course, CC is going to be good pretty much every time he goes out there. Hughes looked really good yesterday. So, I mean, I think you got, and the lineup is ridiculous. I mean, you got a Hall of Famer batting 8. So, I mean, I don't want to hear any crying out of the Bronx right now.
Yeah, I'm just almost the eternal pessimist when it comes to the Yankees. But, if I'm an Orioles fan, the one thing I do like is you didn't give up a major piece in the minor leagues to get something for 2 months, i.e., I think it would have taken a lot to give up either Dylan Bundy or Manny Machado, though.
Yeah, that's just not going to happen. I mean, maybe if they were 12 games over 500 and sitting in first place and had a 3-game lead in the East, you'd consider maybe, I don't think Bundy would ever be dealt. I mean, he's such a source of hope. I mean, he's such a, he's already been featured in Sports Illustrated last week. The funny thing is, he hasn't come to, I'm covering the Salem Red Sox this year, and he has not been in the Frederick dugout yet in Salem, so I haven't seen him pitch yet.
He's been in Lynchburg twice.
Yeah, I know. I saw he pitched last night. I guess he pitched really well. So,
yeah.
And I saw that Lynchburg team just last week, so I know they can hit. They roughed up Matt Barnes, who's the top pitching prospect in the Red Sox organization. So shutting them down is a good feat. And But yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully next time they come in here, I'll get to see him throw a few innings. Obviously, that everything I've read and heard about him is that he's about as amazing as they come for a 19-year-old.
If the Red Sox don't make the playoffs, which I think, and I'm talking about the Boston ones, not the Salem ones, but if the Boston Red Sox do not make the playoffs, which I think is probably likely at this point, but not impossible, does Bobby Valentine get the boot after one season?
I think he does.
Me too.
I think he does. I mean, I really do, because you got the new GM there. I don't think the GM wants to be culpable, and I think you could make a very strong argument that Valentine screwed it all up. I mean, he screwed it up with Euclid in the beginning of the season. He created a strange and unpleasant environment in that clubhouse. And to me, that's the number one thing you got to do as manager. And manage your bullpen well. That's one thing. So you can win those one-run games and create an environment where people can succeed and feel good about themselves and come to work every day with enthusiasm. And I don't sense that in Boston. I mean, I sense sort of it's been a death march pretty much the whole season. I mean, they didn't get off to a good start. That never helps. But I don't think Bobby set the right tone there, and it's been sort of a circus. And you add all those things up, and you take a team that expects to be in the playoffs every year, and you put them out of the playoffs. I think he's gone.
I would agree with you. Moving on to another topic, the Virginia Tech Hokies. Before I get to what they're doing on the football field, how do you think Seth Greenberg is going to do in TV?
Oh, he'll be terrific. He'll be, that's right up his alley. And that's probably, I think he's been angling for that throughout his coaching career. I mean, I think it's something, we all have things that we aspire to be someday. And I think that was the someday thing for Seth Greenberg, was to be on TV, have his opinions heard by millions, and he's great. I mean, one thing I always appreciated about Seth Greenberg in covering him was that he was able to explain the game in a way that made you understand.
Mm-hmm.
I like basketball, but I'm not the biggest hoops head in the world. I mean, there are some things about the game that are foreign to me. I don't study every pick and roll, but he could explain plays. He could explain, the growth of particular players, in a way that few other coaches can. And I think that's going to be a great asset for ESPN. I think if you look at Bobby Knight, if this guy who comes to work and basically just nails it in every time he goes to a game or is on TV, I mean, Bobby Knight stinks. I'm sorry. I don't care what anybody says. He's a terrible analyst. He knows more about basketball than anybody, but he doesn't project it well. Well, Seth may not know as much as Bobby, but he's going to be better on TV. He's just slicker, and he's going to do a good job of explaining things. So I think he'll do terrific.
And I think this could almost be a permanent lifestyle change for Seth too, because I read, I believe your colleague Mark Berman was talking about it in the article where Seth has already, bought a house in Connecticut and said he wanted to go in, with both feet in. So I could see Seth maybe not going back to the bench if this works out well, which I think it will.
Yeah, that was the same impression I got from reading that blog entry from Mark. I mean, it doesn't sound like he's itching to get back in the coaching. Now, could that change in 2-3 years, when he sees other guys, celebrating on the court, or, sees guys. And also, don't forget, I mean, sometimes going to the booth or going into the studio raises your national profile to a level to which you're attracted to schools that you otherwise would not have been. I don't know how many people were reaching out to Seth Greenberg to try to lure him away from Virginia Tech when he was here, but if they see him on TV and said, this guy really knows his stuff, and this guy, he's got coaching experience. Look what he did with the Hokies all off under James Johnson. He'll look even better. I could see a scenario where maybe some BCS level program might take a look at him after a few years. But until that point, I have to agree with you. I would lean towards he's in it for the long haul on TV.
And I think ESPN got lucky getting him and Bruce Pearl, and then Doug Gottlieb leaves. I was never a great big Gottlieb fan anyway, but I think Greenberg and Bruce Pearl will definitely pick up the slack.
Yeah, I liked Gottlieb when he first got there, and he started grating on me by the end of his tenure. But I think that whole ESPN bunch starts to grate on me. I mean, you just hear from them too much. I mean, there's too much incestual interviewing of themselves.
Right.
You know, let's get John Clayton and then let's get Wilkinson in to talk about the same thing. I mean, go out and talk to the people who are actually involved in the athletic arena. Not just your reporters. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. But yeah, I agree with you. Bruce Pearl and Seth Greenberg are a terrific addition.
Well, we're going to save that one for another day, but let's close with some college football before we get out. Logan Thomas calls out the offense on Twitter the other week of saying, hey, guys, we need to make a name for ourselves. We just can't depend on the lunch pailers and the Beamer ballers. How do you think that offense is going to stack up for the Hokies this season?
I'm concerned about it. I'm very concerned about it because I'm an offensive line guy, and I really don't. I haven't seen anything from them. I mean, it's impossible to have seen anything, given that only one of them's been a starter. Their center, Andrew Miller, and there was no spring game in which you could kind of get some sort of taste of how they perform in a quasi-pressure spot. So I don't really care who's running the ball. I mean, if you've got an offensive line that can block for you, you'll be all right. And I'm not sure they have that. We'll have to see. I mean, I saw Shane Beamer the other night, their running backs coach and their associate head coach. And, of course, Frank's son, he spoke to the Roanoke Times Sports Club, and he got several questions from the audience about the O-line, and he seems to be pretty confident that they'll be good. That they have the size, they have the athletic ability. It's just a matter of experience that they don't have, but he thinks that'll be overcome by their other attributes. I don't know. I don't think I'm as confident as he is on that. But we'll see. I mean, you got to keep. I mean, Logan Thomas is amazingly durable. He's a big guy, but how many times can you get hit before you start to really feel it? I wonder about that too. I mean, they're not deep at the quarterback position. Mark Leal is the backup. He's serviceable for a few plays here and there if Logan gets dinged up, but I don't think you want him starting your conference games. And I think that's a scenario where if Thomas were to get hurt, it would be a disaster for Tech.
And closing with, it's good to get college football back on the field after everything that's happened off the field. Did Penn State get too harsh of a penalty just right or not enough in your opinion?
I won't go with just right. Mm-hmm. I'll say it was good. I would have, if I was going to go one way or the other, I would have gone with more penalties rather than less than what they got. I mean, I think the NCAA needed to make a very definitive statement, and a very definitive statement was made. The question is, does Penn State get the message? I'm really not sure that they do yet. I mean, I know it makes me nauseous to think about 100,000 fans in Happy Valley chanting "We are Penn State" like they were some sort of victims here. I mean, to me, the thing to have done would have been for Penn State to actually reach out and say, "Guess what? We understand what happened here and how serious it is, and we need to take a year off of football." And I'm sorry it's going to cost money to businesses. It's going to cost money to our athletic programs, but that's just something we have to do. We have to get our priorities straight. Now, that didn't happen. It's pretty obvious that wasn't going to happen because Penn State, I think, for the most part, believes that they're, us against the world, and I don't know, it's sort of unsavory to me. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but it's not the time to be chanting "We are Penn State" or we're going to come back stronger than ever. This is not the time for that. I mean, maybe in 3 years that'll seem appropriate, but to me it doesn't seem right now.
Well, I'd almost rather have taken the death penalty, to be honest with you, because I mean, you lose, I believe it's 10 scholarships a year for the next 4 years. That's a lot of players when you add it up over 4 years. I mean, just from a football standpoint, from a Joe Paterno standpoint, I don't know of anyone that has fallen as far in terms of being respected to where his legacy is going to be remembered, and I think that's somewhat sad. But like you said, I mean, we got victims here that could have been saved at some point from let's just call Jerry Sandusky what he is, a monster.
Well, I don't, Bob, I don't think it's that at all.
Right.
I don't think it's that at all. I think it's a great cautionary tale. I'm sorry. I mean, Joe Paterno was selfish, was egotistical, was, he was completely out of line, and people will suffer for the rest of their lives for that. Let's not forget that. Who gives a damn about Joe Paterno's image? Real. I mean, Joe Paterno cared about it, and that's why people kept getting molested. So, it's not sad to me. I mean, it is the biggest fall from grace I can ever think of in sports. I mean, Tiger Woods was a pretty severe one, but it is. And yes, it's sad that it all happened collectively, that everything happened. That's very sad. But Joe Paterno is probably the second most, behind Jared Sandusky, the second most responsible for it all going down.
Well, how much, while we're on topic, how much blame do you throw to Mike McQuarrie?
Not as much. I mean, you guys, an assistant coach. I mean, should he have done more? Absolutely. And should he have, stayed on his boss and said, hey, where are we with this? This is a serious matter. Obviously that, but I think he ranks far down the list in terms of people responsible. The people that actually made the decisions of whether to report it. The people in power. McQuarrie is the coach, but he's not the power guy like the three men who were fired and Joe Paterno. So I would assign him some blame, but not nearly as much. At least he tried to tell somebody, which was better than what most of these guys did.
Right, but I think a lot of people were upset in terms of from just the story we've heard, and again, we weren't there, but McQuarrie walked in, and what did he do? I mean, did he get that kid out of there? I mean, from the stories we've heard, no, but I mean, I contend too, though, that I don't think it's just Mike McQuarrie and everybody else. I mean, I think you got to blame that whole coaching staff in a way, because I guarantee you, they all knew.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I mean, we all know coaches. We've all interviewed coaches. We've all seen coaches. An hour after a football game, even a high school game, gathered in their little room, talking football, talking life. I mean, these guys are as tight as anybody, and college football is even more so because they're not teachers. That's their job. That's 24/7 what they do. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine that a guy that was on staff that long and was apparently doing this as long as he was doing, could get away with it without anybody knowing. I mean, it kind of baffles you that would be the case. So yeah, I think you blame them all. But in the hierarchy of blame, I go Sandusky, Paterno, Paterno's bosses, and then go from there.
Aaron, fun talk. I could go on for hours, but this just gives us more reason to do it more often. We will talk again soon.
All right, thanks, Bob. See you, buddy.